Meatball George, how are you today?
Hello, brother Meatball John. How are you? I'm getting ready. The truck's coming tomorrow to pick up my furniture, and I'm heading to Florida.
Yeah, hey, all right. Pretty soon we'll be doing these videos together.
That's right.
At least in the same room. Maybe we'll still be on two computers. Who knows?
Yeah, of course. We got to have two computers. I'll go in the other room.
Okay. All right. So, question.
All right.
Did you get an opportunity to watch the second preseason game?
What teams?
I believe Pittsburgh played someone.
Well, I know the Bills weren't there last night game because if that was the Buffalo Bills that was playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're in big, big trouble.
You remember you used to go to the game, it's to cost you money. You go to the game to see the Buffalo Bills. And then while you were there, they'd play a football game.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do that again.
Get the Jills?
They're going to have to get the Jills back to get anybody in that stadium if they keep playing like this. If this
I think their coach is going to give them the chills. John, that performance on Saturday night for the Buffalo Bills was pathetic. They lost the game 27-15, and that's because the Steelers showed mercy. It could have been 67-15.
Oh, isn't that?
They paid. Oh my God! It was in the first half alone. They had 12 penalties.
Oh, make you sick.
12. They had penalties on offense. They had penalties on defense. They had the offensive line looked like a rusty gate. You could actually hear it squeak. Spencer Brown gets out of the way. Deion Dawkins gets out of the way. It's terrible. Josh Allen was running for his life in a preseason game.
George, I know that in our pre-game show video, I said that I didn't care who won, and I don't care who wins, but I do care how you play. And boy, I was excited to see the starters, and I lost that excitement very quickly when I saw Spencer Brown couldn't stop anybody. Even Deion Dawkins was having trouble. Both tackles had trouble, but the right side looked like, I don't even know if it was a gate there at all. They just walked through.
You know, and it's the second preseason in a row with double-digit penalties. I mean, we had offsides, we had guys down the field, we had interference, I mean, you just name it, we had it.
Personal foul?
Yeah, it just was absolutely horrendous. And it made me, I felt like the Bills were really just going through motions, and not all of them, but many of them were just going through motions and not really playing the game. They were like, this is just a walkthrough, isn't it? It reminded me of the Rocky and the Apollo Creed fight, where Apollo Creed thought this was just a workout, but and his manager's corner man's tell him, this guy don't know it's real. this guy thinks it's real. You know, and the Steelers were out to play like they were ready for the season, and the Bills thought it was a practice session, and it led to injuries. We lost
we lost Tommy Doyle.
Tommy Doyle again.
Yeah.
We lost Matt Barkley. And the way that Josh Allen, he was grabbed at one time by the arm. I thought they were going to rip his arm out, but fortunately he decided to go down. Or it could have been just a disaster for the season. But I really think, yes, they were undisciplined. They were unfocused. I mean, that's not the Bills we know, and I don't think that's the Bills we're going to see in the regular season. I really don't. But I think you made a disagreement, and you can say so. But I think that when it comes to the season, they are going to straighten things out and come to play. I think they'll be prepared for the Jets on that Monday night, and we'll see a different performance.
Well, since you asked, I got to tell you, the starters did not match the emotional level of the opposing team, of the Steelers starters.
That's correct. Yeah, I agree there.
And our starters didn't match the emotional level of Cincinnati last year.
Mm-hmm.
And our starters beat, who did they beat? Miami in the first preseason game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. They matched the emotional level of Miami, but they simply were more talented. Miami had a number of injuries at positions.
They had a third string quarterback in the game.
And most importantly, quarterback. And so the Bills didn't squeak by the game. They won, but they didn't look dominating in that performance.
No.
Solid, but they were against a team that really struggled. I don't think they finished the season well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's carried over. I think it's carried over with our starters. Now, last week we didn't notice it so much because we didn't see this. We saw some starters, but this week we saw everybody. And I don't know if the offense is looking and say, look, we don't have to. We want to make sure we're in a good position to watch what Josh Allen's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Brown sits on his ass till we could watch what Josh Allen's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the process is run into a snag. And I'm not sure if they need new coaching or if they need really an influx of new players, not quarterback, but new players. I'm thinking 4 or 5 new players on defense and offense. They've got to really change things out.
Is it a case of we need new players because they don't have the talent, or do we need new players because they don't have the attitude to win?
I think some of each, but I'm going with the second one. I'm thinking that, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I was very concerned after the playoffs last year. I think there was a lot of people had a lot of excuses as to why they looked so poorly against Cincinnati. I think that they looked poorly against Cincinnati because Cincinnati was a better team.
Well, we saw the Bills struggle last year against any team that was dominant with a defensive front four.
That's true.
They pressured the offensive line, and Josh Allen would scramble. And most of those games we won, but we squeaked them through.
They were 13. That is absolutely right.
And then we ended up with a 13-3, which should have been a 13-4 season because they would have lost to the Bengals had they finished that game.
Teams that didn't have dominating players on the front four, the Bills often could handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Had that talent elsewhere to handle that.
Yeah, but this year they got a lot of tough games.
You know what? Yeah, they do. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's break it down. It doesn't have to be in order. Give me a takeaway. What's one of your takeaways from this game?
All right, I think that the new tight end Dawson Knox has really got smooth moves, and he is able to get open in the center of the field. He's too much of a matchup for a linebacker. And with Josh Allen throwing, it's an easy pass and catch.
Okay, I want to give a takeaway. Also, involving Dalton Kincaid.
Okay.
The Bills have 2 series where they can't get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
First 2 series. Now, I don't know if they were thinking of really playing Josh Allen into the second quarter or not, but after those 2 miserable series, it was apparent they had to give him another shot. give the offense a boost.
Right.
And they did. And again, they beat themselves up. Pittsburgh was too good for them. They end up punting. Then they moved to Barkley. Where I'm going with this is just when they were struggling, I know that they may start off the game with a script of plays, a list of plays that they're going to be their first 10 plays, first 15 plays. But at no time in those plays, and at no time in the third series, when they put him back out there in order to try to get a positive drive, just to make some first downs, at no time did they try to incorporate Dalton Kincaid. They never looked to him to be a solution. And I think that's an indication as to how the season is going to start. They're going to work him in slowly on occasion. And if he performs, they may begin to put more, give him more prominence. But they're not looking at him right now. They ran the ball. They tried running the ball into a wall. They tried passing the ball, which no protection, pass blocking protection. But at no point were they trying to scheme him open or asking him to be the one-on-one. They weren't looking to him to be a.
You mean you're talking about when the first team was out there?
Only when the first team was out.
Yeah.
As soon as the first team comes off, you get the fourth series. Barkley's in there. They immediately start utilizing. And I just thought that was an indication of how the coaching staff is looking at him. They're still developing him. They're not looking to him to be an answer or a solution or to be an important part. He'll be an important part on occasion. He'll get the occasional pass. He might get a third down pass. When Josh Allen's scrambling, he may get a pass thrown his way, but he ain't going to be the X until after I don't know how long. And if that's this year, if it's 4 games, 3 games, if it's next year, if it's 2 preseasons, I don't know what it takes for them to decide that they can incorporate him into their offense. I don't know if they saw stuff in practice that gave them pause, didn't think he could be ready for it, or if they feel he's just a rookie and they don't want to use rookies.
Well, I got to tell you, if they don't utilize this kid, then we need a change in coaching staff.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you. That's a true statement. Yeah. I think that might have been a true. I think we might have the wrong offensive coaches. Anyway, without that, I think there's plenty of reasons to think we have the wrong offensive coaches.
You know, Kincaid came out when they did play him. He had 3 catches for 45 yards. He was averaging 15 yards a catch. That's pretty darn good tight end territory.
Yes, it is.
That's a first down every time he catches the ball. He's moving the sticks, and he's big, and he's too much for a tight end to handle.
Now,
or a safety.
He was getting the kind of passes. I want you to think back to last year.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of passes that Hodgkins was getting last year.
Mm-hmm. And then they didn't use it.
Put him on a practice squad.
Yeah.
These were incorporating him the way they incorporated Shaquem last year.
John, if they do that with their number 1 pick, then we need a new coaching staff. There's no question. The kid was that smooth. His route running was outstanding. He's just smooth. He glides. He easily outmaneuvers a tight end. And if they don't use their number 1 pick, then why did they pick him? And it'll be a case of this has got to. It'll be a case of then you gotta look at the coaching staff. But my takeaway is he's that good.
What's your next takeaway from this game?
My next takeaway is I thought that the new guard, Osiris Torrance, the 2nd round pick rookie, really played well.
Yeah.
I really thought that he had another good game, and he is really settling in, and he's securing that starting position at guard.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do like any rookie. He's going to have a good year. He may be going to make some mistakes, but I think he'll be good. And I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see a superstar there.
Okay. My takeaway is that regardless of all the hype, any hype that you may have heard, any talk, any coach's answers, Duke Johnson is the number 2 quarterback on this team. The way they're utilizing
Who?
Duke, not Duke. Dane Jackson.
Dane Jackson.
Dane Jackson. Duke Johnson, wasn't he the receiver out of Canada? I was trying to think of what.
Yeah.
1 week too late. All right, so Dane Jackson is the number 2 cornerback on this team. The way they utilize him, they get him out there just enough to stretch his legs, and then they pack him away. Trey White got out. They're using him like Trey White. They give him a series, maybe 2, and then they pack him away, and they're letting Elam and is it Christian Bedford?
Yeah.
Get all the reps and get a lot of tape on them for coaching.
My take on the backup quarterback is the Buffalo Bills don't have one. And it didn't matter to me if you put Barkley out there or what's his face there, Kyle Allen. We really don't have a backup quarterback. We've got guys with credentials, but no history of success. And if Josh Allen goes down, and if that offensive line continues to play that way, he will, then the season is over. And I would not be surprised to see what quarterbacks come out on the waiver wire.
I wouldn't.
Bills are looking at him. Yeah.
All right. Quarterback. All right. So right now, my next take is one of the players that are currently on this roster is going to start middle linebacker. That's not a hot take, but
somebody's got to start
because somebody has to. I think that they are going to be scouring the cuts after cutdown day.
I agree.
Looking to bring in, and I understand that whoever they bring in isn't going to be able to start a week later, but they have to know that they can't make it through a season with what they got.
John, Dotson played so bad they actually pulled him out of the game. Not like, okay, it's the end of the starters. Starters stayed in and they pulled him out and put Klein in.
I think that is also very telling.
And I think that they would put in Terrell Bernard, but he's on the injured list. So somebody's going to have to start. And it looks to me like it might be Klein. But 2 weeks is a long way away. Maybe Dotson will figure out what the heck's going on in his head. And we'll see. I don't know.
One of the things that we talked about in the offseason, but not on video. I think this is Dotson. I think this is him. This is why he's a career backup. This is why he came out of college and he was thrilled to make a team as a special teamer. And he was a backup linebacker, a deep backup linebacker. Like he's like a Matakevich. You really are not, you're hoping you don't get 10. They had a backup in place. They needed to go out and find a linebacker. And they drafted Dorian Williams. They must feel that he cannot do that job because they moved him out of that position. The fellow they drafted last year is injured. He didn't show great last year when he had to fill in. So I think they will be scouring the waiver wire immediately after cutdown day.
I agree with you.
Looking for someone they could bring in on the 53-man roster now, but to start after a couple weeks because they're going to have trouble until they get somebody else in there.
Well, I think you're right. I think that's what they're going to do as well. And then they are grasping at straws, hoping that somebody's castaway is going to be better than what they got. And if it is, like, how much better can it be? It couldn't stay on the team. It got beat out on the team they were on,
I
So I think we're in desperate mode there. We're going to see something happen at draft time next year.
Well, I think that what they'll be looking for is someone who got a veteran who got cut due to a team wanting to save money. They think they found a younger player who could do the job,
Mm-hmm.
so they cut the veteran.
Yeah.
And that might happen. Like sometimes a team will cut a veteran a couple of days before cutdown day. So to give him a chance, everybody in the league is aware, and he's not mixed in with all the other names.
I watched, I think it was Buffalo Plus, and they brought up the point that Klein is a thumper. And so he's in there to try and stuff the run, but he's not a coverage guy. So if he's not a coverage guy and they're going again, they're in a passing league, in a passing division, is he really going to be your starting linebacker?
I would like to point something out.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But Klein came from Carolina, right? Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he played under McDermott.
Yeah.
When he was there, he was a backup Will. Luke Kuechly was the middle linebacker. He didn't.
Right.
And 2 years ago when they brought him in and Edmonds got hurt and he had to come in and play for Edmonds,
mm-hmm.
they had to give him a learning curve. And the reason was because he was the backup, but not at the middle linebacker position.
Yeah.
He was the Will. He was the cover guy. That was his role. It was the Milano role. Covers tight ends, sometimes stays in and run support. So he's just old. I mean, he's not a thumper. When you say that, I think what they're trying to do is find something a positive way to say he can't do the job.
Look at it at this point. I still don't see him at any more than an emergency backup.
Yeah.
And I think this is my take on it. If you're that unhappy with Dotson, you may as well go ahead and either play Bernard. Hopefully he gets
when he goes back
to start, or you roll with Dorian Williams, your new pick. The Spectre doesn't seem to be the guy. I like him a lot, but they don't seem to have confidence in him yet to be certainly to be a starter. So I say take a shot with your last year's linebacker pick or this year's linebacker pick and roll with it and let the guy learn on the job.
Okay, I got another.
A guy like Klein ain't going to help you anyway.
I got another take.
Okay.
We saw this team draft a linebacker in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
At a time when they didn't know who their middle linebacker would be.
Right.
We saw them say a couple of weeks after the draft, yeah, we think he could be a Will, but we're also going to give him an opportunity at middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
And he went through the OT, so they liked him. And look, in their scouting, they thought maybe middle linebacker for him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to the OTAs, and before training camp starts, they say, no. This is too much. We're going to move him to Will, backup Will. You remember last year when they drafted in the first round a cornerback?
Elon.
They were facing a situation where they were going to have an inexperienced cornerback next to Dane Jackson because Trey White was out.
Mm-hmm.
So they drafted their first round pick and they drafted a cornerback. And they got a guy who, after OTAs, they realized he can't start. He's not right. He's not going to be right.
Right.
I'm starting to have some concerns on their scouting department as it stands. Their ability to scout and find not diamonds in the rough, because we've seen some late round picks pan out for that.
Yes.
But this is what they see on film, picking guys that can play right away, fit into their scheme as a rookie, and be startable.
Mhm.
Not because there are so many talented players in the organization that the new people just have to get in line, and it's hard to make the roster. They have openings, but they can't find, they don't, twice now, 2 years in a row, they haven't been able to find a player that could come in and start for them.
And,
It's becoming a pattern.
when you watch this Pittsburgh game, the Bills gave up one big run. It was a terrible play on the Bills defense. You had even Matt Milano was blocked out of the play. The Steelers played it beautifully. The Bills were just horrible, and they gave up that big pass play. Or I'm sorry, big run play. Outside of that run play, the Bills really handled the run extremely well.
I don't give them any credit for stopping the run.
I understand.
After
but
that,
they did stop the run before that play and after that play. But what they couldn't do is stop the pass game.
George, I don't give them any credit. I mean, I'm saying straight up, I don't give them any credit for stopping the run before that play, stopping the run after that play. What was that, a 60-yard run?
Yeah.
We've seen that before.
Yes.
We've seen this team do that before.
Yes.
And it counts.
Oh, no, I understand that.
It counts.
But nobody is going to beat the Bills based on the run game. That overall, I mean, even if the Bills gave up 2 huge runs in a game, and that's 14 points, that's not what's killing them. It's they can't defend the pass. They can't get the pressure on the quarterback. And the players we got as defensive backs are playing off the ball, or they're so sticky that they're handsy and they're committing penalties. Yeah. They can't stop when you put Dane Jackson in there. Yes, is another guy. Oh, he knows the system. He knows this and that. He plays 10 yards off the receiver. And, here's a guy that could get 10 tackles a game. But when you look at the end of the night, the receiver he was covering ends up with 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh, but he had 10 tackles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really concerned about the pass defense much more than the run defense.
Well, the defensive scheme is set up to stop the pass. They don't even play 3 linebackers. They play 2 linebackers and a cover corner. Mm-hmm. They're set up to stop the pass. Mm-hmm. So if they're not stopping the pass, I don't know if it's a player issue. If it can't just be the middle linebacker issue, although their middle linebacker plays pass defense so often, mm-hmm. that might be part of it. But if they can't stop the pass, this defense is going to be a poor defense.
Right.
Bottom 10 as opposed to top 10, challenging for top 5. Remember a couple years ago, they kept talking about statistically this defense was so good.
Yeah.
You watch them and you're like, unless they're playing a poor team, they're not really very good.
No.
When they go up against,
they can't get off the field.
When they go up against a good offense, they couldn't get off the field. They would sometimes hold teams to field goals instead of touchdowns. And at the same time, the offense was scoring touchdowns. So
it was like 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, and they could not stop that pass. And then the very next play was that long run. So that long run shouldn't have happened because we should have been off the field, but we couldn't stop the pass. And, when we played Indianapolis the week before, they looked fantastic. And we kept saying, well, but it is Indianapolis. Let's see what happens when they play a team like the Steelers. And we saw what happens when they play a team like the Steelers. They stunk. They stunk up the room. There's no other way to say it. They kind of blamed it on, we don't scheme for this game. Well, neither did the Steelers. They just lined up and punch in the teeth. And the Bills lined up and were like just walking through time and space just, trying, and they almost got their quarterback killed.
Yeah.
And if you were McDermott, what would you say to the team Monday morning? Would you tell them, listen, guys, I know that we're going to learn from this. How many times have you heard that? We're going to learn from this and we're going to follow the process. It makes you wonder, what's the process, or do you think he's going to get up there and go, UGDMF? You almost got our quarterback killed. And hey, speaking of Cabbage Head, from now on our text, I'm going to refer to Cabbage Head as just CH. We're going to shorten it up now. So Cabbage Head, and for those of you who follow us, I'm talking about Josh Allen. He decides that he's going to run around in the backfield and try and save a play when it's like 3rd and 34 in a preseason game. Mister, don't do it. Just throw the ball away, fall down, crawl to the sideline, whatever you got to do. But you don't do that in a preseason game. He's got no brain.
George?
Yeah.
In our pre-game show, you talked about they're going to use short passes to mitigate the pass rush.
That's what I said they should do. Yes.
If
they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Ball away. He's going to throw the ball away, or he's going to go not even take a sack.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't what they do.
No, that is what they did. That is what they did after he came out of the game.
Yeah.
They threw passes over the middle. They ran the ball. They threw the ball away. Except Barkley, he couldn't throw it over anybody on the line. How many passes did he have tipped and intercepted? But they did do that stuff when the first team was out. But when the first team was in, that's what they should have did, according to me, the world according to George. But they didn't do that. You're absolutely right. That is not who they are. Even in a preseason, they're not bright enough to do that. I know I'm giving them a lot of flack, but
the only thing
they almost got their quarterback killed.
Some of the stuff that you're blaming on Cabbage Head, I think, is the offensive coordinator. It's a whole offense.
Okay.
They don't have the same. They don't have the same ideas that you have.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do things that way. I hope in a press conference, some member of the press will ask them why they don't. Maybe that will encourage them to try some different things with Allen, or try to protect them in a different way, because the offensive line can't protect them. So getting rid of the ball quick might be a lot more effective in keeping him healthy this year.
So when they ran the ball with Latavius Murray, and he averaged about 4.5 yards a run. They ran the ball with Mims, and he also was well over 4 yards a carry, just under 5. They ran the ball with Cook, and I think he averaged like 1 yard a carry.
He ran into a lot of walls.
So you got to ask yourself, is it the offensive line, or do we just have some players that are just not talented enough? Or did they really just, the first string felt, we got our job, we just don't have to bother? I think there was a lot of that in this game, John.
I think that it was offensive line. Murray started getting yards after the first quarter when Pittsburgh had 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, and they stopped. They were done. They pulled their first strings out. Murray started getting yards when he was facing the Steelers backups. So I think our starters leave a lot to be desired.
John, when the offensive line starters came out, who were the tackles? Who did they play as tackle?
Quisenberry came in on one side, and I don't remember who the other side was.
If Spencer Brown is going to play as poorly as he did, what the hell? Bench him. Just bench him. No more of this stuff. Well, he's the best we got, so we got to play him. If he's the best we got, and then it's time to play the second best we got, because maybe he'll try harder. You know, it'd be like Avis and Hurts. You checking?
I was, but I didn't catch it. Like I don't remember who they put in there. Well,
I think McDermott is going to have a come to Jesus meeting with these players on Monday, and he should.
Is Jesus going to tell them that they're not good enough? Because they're not.
Yeah, and tell them that they're not good enough. I mean, really, to baby him now is not going to help you. You know, I'm not saying they should be threatening him, but it's time to just sit him down and calmly say, listen, you guys, you played that bad. No, there's so many penalties. Nobody's really paying attention. Nobody gives a shit. I'd be telling his coaches the same thing and say, this is got to change. There's no room for any more of this. And we're going back to the basics of blocking and tackling. And I know I've said this before, and they don't do it. You're right. Josh Allen's going to come out, and he's going to throw deep to Diggs, who's going to be covered by three guys. But, you know, quite frankly, Davis made some good catches. Who else? Anybody else perform? Kincaid made some good catches.
Oh yeah, there's some guys on the second string that are fighting for roster spots. Made some nice receiving spots.
And they look like they were trying to get it done. The first stringers looked like they really didn't care. John, I really believe it was more of that than they're just not any good. I just believed like they were, you know, you're the starter. We're going to play our starters for the first quarter or quarter and a half.
Well, look,
and those guys said, okay, we were the starters. Let's just walk through it. The Pittsburgh guys didn't say that. They were like, let's go show that we are the starters.
Look, we're out of time, but
oh, we are.
We had problems with Spencer Brown last year. We had concerns coming into this season. It's not because he don't care. Did he not care last year when he was arrested?
No. I agree with you. There are some players that are just not good enough.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that we have a lot of good players. It's just we're not into the game.
I hope you're right.
All right. Well, we're about out. Okay.
Time.
Enjoy, everybody, and go Bills.
Go Bills.